Welcome to Robotic Engineering 101, video 3 of 3. In today's video, we're going to show you guys how to set up an extra attachment to your robot that will line up with the servo motor that's on that robot that we put in Series 1. This is our servo motor, which I showed you guys we had, and on the servo motor we've added a gear. What we're going to do is we're going to add another arm to this that'll attach to another gear that should line up with this so that when one gear turns, the other gear will turn. What we are not going to do is we're not going to create the actual arm, but we're going to just put the part of the arm on so you can actually see it and moving so that you know that this whole system really works. So first things first, we want to put some stuff together. What I've got is a small bracket here, and that bracket is going to be a part of the actual piece that will come off the end of our robot that will help our arm move. I've got a big gear. I've got what's called an axle hub, and that axle hub has a little screw that's sort of sticking out of the end of it. We're going to need that. That's important. These screws do come out. Please be aware if yours falls out that you need to put it back in because it's really tough to replace them. We've got 2 bushings and 2 spacers. We need those spacers. We've got 3 Allen wrenches. We've got an axle, and if you remember anything from the 7th grade or 6th grade lessons where we worked on building our cars for the race cars, for the dragsters, we have axles, and in that case we were using this same thing. Now we also need 4 1/2-inch screws, and then this system, which you can get set up in your book if you read the book or just look at the tutorial that's online. Once I have everything that I need here, I need to start making the system work. So what we're going to do is we're going to be putting this axle through here and eventually attaching it to the gear. But there's a lot of space here. You see that? We don't want that space. We want it to be a little snug. And the way we do that is to get the bushing through, and then that makes this a little bit more snug. And then we need to create something for this. Well, that is exactly what the axle hub is for. The hub fits into there, and if you look, the hub has 5 holes, and so does the gear. In this case, we just want to line up those 5 holes and the gear, and then take our screws and screw them in. Well, here we want to screw these screws in from the back side of the gear. And I always tell kids, just do this manually first, just to get them all in. Don't do one at a time, because once you start tightening one screw, if you kind of adjusted this whole hub too far, you won't be able to get the other screws in. So we want to do them all first. And then you could take your correct Allen wrench, put the Allen wrench inside, and just sort of get them tight. Now this way, when you put the Allen wrench in the way I'm doing it, you can only get them so tight. And Allen wrenches are such great simple machines because what they do is they allow you to use leverage to make screws a little bit tighter than you would be able to do it otherwise. So you can put it in this way and use the leverage to wrench it a little bit tighter. You don't want to go too tight. Remember, all this stuff is aluminum and it could end up destroying it. So we're just making it nice and snug. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so now I've got my axle hub connected to my gear, and I'm just going to pull this axle out for right now, and I don't need the bushing just yet. We can just put them into there if we want to. That's not really going to help us too much because it's eventually going to just come out. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to get the axle lined up. Now what you should see is if you take a look closely, and I'm going to spin the axle, and let's see if I can focus in on that. There's actually a flat edge on that axle. That's the flat edge right there, and the rest of it's sort of just rounded. What we want is that flat edge to line up with the axle hub screw, which is that screw that I was telling you guys about before, and we'll set it up, and once it's lined up, we're going to tighten that screw. Now in this case, I'm only going to tighten it snug, but not too snug. I just want to get it on there for right now, because eventually I think I'm going to have to take that off. Okay, we're good. Now that that's on there, I'm going to need my spacer. And then I can slide this through, and then that's where that would go. Okay, so that's the system we're looking for. Now I'm going to pull all this apart because once I have it together, it's going to be harder to connect to the robot. Now we've already talked about how to make connections to robots, And in this particular case, I'm going to try to save us some time again, and I'm only going to use 2 of the screws to put it on so that I'm not, like I said, not wasting anyone's time here. And in this case, I can actually go through the top of the screw, of the bracket, I mean, with the screw. So I've got my screws going through the top there. I'll line it up with the correct holes there, and I will take the nut and I'll just kind of fit it in underneath. And once I've lined it up, I'll take my Allen wrench, put it down, and then tighten it. I want to tighten this all the way because it's going to need to be adjusted. So right now I'm just setting it up so it's nice and loose, so that when I need to adjust it, it'll be easier for me to do. Okay, so now that's on there, but you see it's kind of like loose. I want it loose for right now. Eventually I'm gonna have to change that. So I'll slide my axle in, and you can see that the gears line up nicely. And then I will slide the other bushing in. I need my other spacer. And now I'm going to use this piece that we've already pre-built for you, and you'll notice that we have another axle hub that's on here with the axle screw, which also needs to line up perfectly with the flat edge, and this is the flat edge right here. So I'm set there. I'm just going to line that up, and now I'm going to tighten it. And while I'm at it, actually I need the right Allen wrench. While I'm at this, I'm just going to tighten everything because it seems to be fitting perfectly. So once I tighten it, I should be decent, at least for what I'm going to be doing right now. Okay, at this moment I'm tight. All the screws are tightened down onto the axles. I've got my hub with the other servo motor, and once we have another servo motor, by the way, we would end up plugging this piece in. And remember, yellow side goes in when we're talking about the receiver. I would have to plug that guy in so that I can use that servo motor. But for this, I'm not going to plug it in because I'm not going to hook up a piece onto here. I'm just getting this system set up because I don't want to give you all the answers. I'd like you guys to start figuring things out for yourselves. But now that I have this system set up, I'm going to end up trying to power this on and seeing if I can make the arm move up. So now we have our RC controller, which you guys should all be using. And one of these moves the robot forward, and one of these moves the lever forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this part on, and both lights are lighting up. I'm going to turn my system on, and we're going to see how it goes. Okay, so it's moving. So when I push it forward, it actually moves backwards, which is okay. When I push it down, which is backwards, it's moving forward. So all I have to do now is just adjust these, okay? So these are the servo reverses, and I can adjust them accordingly to make things go forward and backwards. So just got to figure out which one is which. That's not it. I'm going to make sure that that goes back up there. Let's put this one up. Nope, that's not it. Put that down. There we go. So now I'm moving forward. It moves forward. I move back. It moves back. Pretty simple. Okay. If I want to go left, moves left. Right moves right. And we know that this side of our controller moves the robot forward, backward, left, and right. This side, however, moves our arm. Okay? Now, if I went left and right, this isn't going to do anything. But this part here is connected to this servo, which isn't plugged in yet. So let's say we have something that we want to open and close. Well, these would allow you to open and close it. But for right now, we're just messing with the arm. And as you can see, I'm all set up, and the arm is moving the way I want it to. Okay. Turn this on its side. Okay. So now that I have everything sort of set up and ready to go, Let me just show you. Down, up, down. Okay, I'm ready to start adding to my servo motor so that I can start making the next connection. And the rest is up to you. Good luck. You have your mission. Go forth, wreak havoc.